Chosen one, stop. Right here. Right now. Do not move past this moment. Do not let your thumb scroll another inch. Do not let your mind convince you that this is just another video in an endless feed of content that will say what every other video says and leave you exactly where you were before you press play. This is different. This is not content. This is not a message crafted for an algorithm. This is a divine revelation that has been held in heaven's reserve, sealed and protected, and kept for exactly this moment, exactly this month, exactly this version of you that is sitting here right now in March 2026 reading these words. If this video found you this month, in this season, at this specific moment in your life, I need you to understand something before I say another word. The light of Christ himself chose you for this. Not randomly, not accidentally, not because you happened to be scrolling at the right time. He chose you. He looked across the entire earth, across every soul searching for answers, across every person hungry for truth, and he pointed at you specifically and said, "Show them this now. They are ready. It is time." And what he is about to reveal to you in this message is going to rewrite everything you thought you knew about yourself, about your life, about why things have been the way they have been, about why you are the way you are, about what is actually happening around you in the spiritual realm, and what is about to shift in the natural one. But before we go any further, the light of Christ is asking you to do something right now, something bold. Something that is going to feel either immediately right or slightly uncomfortable, depending on how deeply the enemy has been suppressing your understanding of who you actually are. Go to the comments right now and declare this out loud as you type it. I am moving into my billionaire phase now, not as a wish, not as a hope, as a declaration, as a spiritual decree spoken from the deepest place of faith inside you. Because the moment those words leave your fingertips and enter the atmosphere, something activates. A divine shield of abundance begins to form around your life. Your money frequency, the spiritual channel through which financial blessing flows to you, unlocks. And the infinite abundance that the light of Christ has been holding in reserve for this exact moment in your journey begins to move toward you with a speed and a totality that will leave everyone who has watched you struggle completely speechless. Type it now, then come back, because what comes next is going to change the entire trajectory of your life. Now, chosen one, I need to warn you about something immediately. The enemy does not want you to finish this video. I know you might think that sounds dramatic. Stay with me because this is spiritually precise. The reason this video even made it to your feed is because the light of Christ fought for it. He destroyed the negative energy that was trying to block this revelation from reaching you. He pushed through the spiritual resistance that the forces working against your elevation have been maintaining around your life for years. He got this to you. But now that it is here, now that you are watching, the enemy is going to try a different strategy. He is not going to block it from reaching you. He already lost that battle. He is going to try to stop you from finishing it. And here is exactly how he is going to try. In the next few minutes, you're going to feel a pull, a restlessness, a sudden thought that says this video is too long, or you have heard this kind of thing before, or you will watch the rest of it later, or something else needs your attention right now, and you can come back to this. That is not your thought. That is the energy of lack, the frequency of poverty, the vibration of every jealous, threatened, spiritually oppressive force that has been attached to your life, feeding off your confusion about your own identity, terrified of what happens the moment you finally understand who you actually are. Because, chosen one, the moment you fully receive what this message is carrying, the moment the revelation of your true identity lands completely in your spirit, everything changes. The lack ends. The confusion ends. The cycle of struggle ends, and every force that has been benefiting from your confusion loses its power over you permanently. That is why the enemy is desperate to stop you from reaching the end of this video. The light of Christ is not asking you. He is begging you. Stay. Resist the urge. Push through every moment of restlessness and distraction and manufactured urgency that tries to pull you away. Because every single word of this message has been divinely charged with the light of Christ. Every sentence carries a frequency of truth and revelation that is specifically calibrated for your spirit. And the further you go, the deeper the breakthrough goes. Your biggest shift is here, and no enemy can stop you from claiming it if you simply choose to stay. This is your final test before everything changes. Pass it. Now let me speak to you about something that you have never heard anyone explain accurately. Something about you that you have known your whole life, but have never had the language for. Something that has made you feel simultaneously special and isolated, gifted and burdened, connected to something greater, and yet somehow lonely in a way you cannot fully explain to the people around you. From the time you were a child, you felt different. Not different in a way that was visible to everyone around you. Not different in a way that came with obvious markers or clear explanations, but different in a way that lived deep inside you. A knowing, a sensing, a quiet, persistent awareness that you were experiencing life on a frequency that the people around you simply were not tuned into. You felt it in the way you could walk into a room and instantly read the energy of it. Before a single word was spoken, before anything visible had happened, you already knew. You knew whether the space was safe. You knew whether the people in it were genuine. You knew whether something was about to go wrong or whether something good was unfolding. And you were right. Almost always, you were right. You felt it in the way you could look at a person and see through them. Not arrogantly, not with judgment, but with a clarity that was sometimes uncomfortable because it showed you things about people that they had not yet revealed and had not yet been exposed for. You could see their true colors before the world could see them. You could sense their intentions before their actions confirmed them. And you would sit with that knowing quietly, internally, because you understood from a young age that not everyone was ready to hear what you could see. You felt it in the way your intuition operated. That inner voice, that gut feeling, that spiritual nudge that would tell you this will work out or do not trust this or something is not right here. And it was accurate, not just for your own life, often more accurately for other people's situations than for your own. You would give advice to someone in pain, and the words that came out of you were wiser, deeper, more precisely targeted than anything you had consciously prepared to say. It was like something was speaking through you. And you also felt different in the way you loved. You loved with a depth and a wholeness that most people around you simply could not match. Not because they were bad people, but because they were operating from a different place. You felt everything more intensely. Other people's pain landed in you like it was your own. Other people's joy lit something up inside you genuinely. You absorbed the emotional reality of the rooms you walked into and carried it with you long after you left. People were drawn to you for reasons they could not always articulate. They would open up to you almost immediately, sharing things they had never told anyone else, feeling somehow safe in your presence without being able to explain why. Strangers would tell you their deepest struggles. Children and animals were drawn to your energy. And even people who did not know you well somehow sensed that you were different in a way that made them want to be closer to you. All of this, every single bit of it, has a name, and that name is the revelation that the light of Christ has been waiting for exactly the right moment to speak over your life. Chosen one, the day you were born, the universal vibrations were different. I'm not speaking poetically. I am speaking about spiritual reality. When you entered this world, you did not arrive empty. You arrived carrying something, a light, a frequency, a divine imprint that was placed on your soul before your first breath, before your first cry, before your eyes opened for the very first time. You were born with the light of Christ embedded in the deepest part of who you are. That is not a metaphor. That is the literal spiritual reality of your existence. The reason you have always been able to feel what others cannot feel. The reason you have always been able to see what others cannot see. The reason your empathy runs so deep it sometimes feels like a burden rather than a gift. The reason your intuition operates on a level that consistently defies logical explanation. It is because you are not operating from the same spiritual source as the average person. You are a carrier of divine light. And more than that, you are a reincarnation of a higher divine frequency. A soul so ancient, so close to the original source of all light and love and truth, that when you came into this human experience, you carried with you memories of a realm most people have completely forgotten exists. That is why certain truths feel like remembering rather than learning. That is why certain spiritual revelations land in you not as new information, but as confirmation of what some deep part of you always already knew. Jeremiah 1 verse 5 is not just a verse for prophets in ancient Israel. It is the declaration of a God who forms souls with intention before they are placed in bodies. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Set apart. Before birth. Before any choice you made. Before any achievement you earned or failure you experienced. Before any relationship shaped you or rejection wounded you. You were set apart. Designated. Marked. Chosen. And the life you have lived, with all of its beauty and all of its pain, with all of its extraordinary moments and all of its devastating losses, has been the experience of a divine soul navigating a human world that was never quite designed for the frequency you carry. Now let me speak about the pain that comes with carrying what you carry. Because this is important. This is the part of your story that needs to be witnessed and understood before the revelation of abundance can fully land. Chosen one, you have been betrayed. Not once, not twice, in patterns that have repeated across relationships, across seasons, across circumstances that should have been different, but somehow kept producing the same devastating result. Producing the same devastating result. The friends you trusted most, the ones you opened your heart to completely, the ones you saw clearly from the beginning but chose to believe in anyway, because the purity inside you wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. The ones you stood beside through their worst seasons, who you carried and supported and poured into generously, often at a cost to yourself that they never fully acknowledged. They turn on you, maybe not all at once, maybe gradually, maybe through small betrayals that accumulated over time until the weight of them became undeniable. Maybe through one catastrophic moment of exposure that showed you suddenly and completely who they had actually been the entire time. And here's the most painful part. You saw it coming. You felt it. Long before it happened, long before anyone else could see it, your spirit was sending you signals. Something is not right here. This person is not who they are presenting themselves to be. This relationship has a hidden cost that has not been revealed yet. And you heard those signals. You felt them clearly. But the purity of your own heart, the depth of your belief in people's capacity to be better, the love that you carry so naturally that it sometimes overrides your own protection, told you to stay. Told you to give another chance. Told you to believe in a version of them that you knew they could be even when all the evidence was pointing to the version they actually were. And they took that grace and used it. They took your patience and called it weakness. They took your silence and called it ignorance. They took your continued presence in their life as permission to continue doing what they had always been doing, taking from you without giving back, using your light to warm themselves without ever acknowledging the source. And through all of that, you stayed soft. You did not become bitter. You did not let the betrayal turn you into someone who closes their heart. You grieved. You processed. You brought it to God in the quiet. And then you kept loving. Not them necessarily, but you kept the love alive in yourself. You refused to let what they did to you determine who you chose to be. Do you understand what that level of spiritual strength requires? Most people who experience one fraction of the betrayal you have walked through close permanently. They build walls so high and so thick that genuine love cannot get through anymore. They protect themselves by stopping feeling. They trade depth for safety and spend the rest of their lives in the shallow end because the deep end cost them too much. You did not do that. And that choice, that seemingly quiet, unspectacular choice to remain open when closing would have been so much easier, is one of the most profoundly spiritual decisions a soul can make in a human lifetime. And then there's the financial journey. Chosen one, your relationship with money has been one of the most confusing, most exhausting, most spiritually charged aspects of your human experience. Because you're not bad with money. You're not irresponsible or careless or lacking in the work ethic that generates income. In fact, you work harder than most people around you. You think more creatively. You have ideas that are genuinely brilliant. You see opportunities that others miss entirely. And yet money has moved through your life like water through open hands. It comes, and then it goes, faster than it came. And sometimes in ways that make no logical sense. You do everything right, and something unexpected takes it. You build something, and something else collapses it. You get close to a level of stability that would finally let you breathe, and then something shifts and you are back to starting again. And you have prayed about it, deeply and sincerely and specifically. You have asked God why. You have searched your own heart for what you might be doing wrong. You have applied wisdom and strategy and discipline, and still the financial ceiling has felt impossibly low for someone with the gifts and the capacity you clearly possess. Here is the spiritual truth about why. There has been a frequency block on your finances. Not because God wanted you to struggle, not because you deserve lack, but because the enemy understood something about you that you have not yet fully understood about yourself. He knew that a chosen one walking in the full revelation of their identity and the full flow of divine abundance is one of the most unstoppable forces on the planet. A soul carrying the light of Christ, fully awakened to who they are, fully resourced to do what they were sent here to do, is a threat to every dark agenda operating in this world. So he targeted your finances specifically because financial lack is one of the most effective ways to keep a high-frequency soul distracted, depleted, and unable to focus on their actual assignment. When you are spending all your energy surviving, you have nothing left to spend on thriving. When you are worried about money, you cannot hear clearly the divine downloads and creative ideas and strategic directions that the light of Christ is trying to send you. Lack is not just an economic condition. It is a spiritual weapon, and it has been used against you with precision. But chosen one, hear this with everything in you. That weapon has just been disarmed. The moment you clicked on this video, the moment you chose to stay when the enemy was pushing you to leave, you made a decision that shifted the spiritual atmosphere around your finances permanently. The frequency block is breaking. The ceiling is dissolving. And the abundance that has been held in reserve for your awakened season is beginning to flow. In your health, this one is personal. This one has lived in the back of your mind as a constant, low-grade presence that never fully goes away. Not always a crisis, but always there. A concern, a worry, a part of your life that requires more attention than you would like it to. Whether it is something chronic that you have learned to manage, whether it is the way stress and emotional weight manifest in your physical body because you absorb so much from the world around you, whether it is the specific vulnerability of a highly empathic nervous system that was never designed to carry this much without adequate spiritual support and restoration. Your health has been a burden, and it has been connected to everything else. Because when your physical body is not at its best, your spiritual capacity is diminished. When pain or fatigue or chronic concern about your well-being is taking up space in your consciousness, it crowds out the higher frequency thoughts and divine communications that your spirit is trying to receive. The enemy knew this too. But today, in this moment, the light of Christ is releasing something over your physical body. A healing frequency, a restoration of the divine design that your body was created to operate in. Not as a magic formula, as a spiritual reality that begins in the spirit and manifests progressively in the natural. The constant worry about your health is ending, because you are moving into a season where your physical body is going to be supported by a level of divine vitality that you have not experienced in a long time, where the things that have been draining you are being identified and removed, where your energy returns, where your body remembers what it feels like to be fully alive and fully well. Isaiah 53 verse 5. By his wounds we are healed. That is not a historical statement. That is a present tense reality available to you right now in this moment. Receive it. Now, chosen one, I need to tell you something about the people who have been taking you for granted, because this needs to be said clearly and with love. You have given enough chances. I know your heart. I know that the purity inside you keeps finding reasons to believe people will change. Keeps finding the version of them that is possible and choosing to relate to that version instead of the version that is actually showing up. Keeps extending grace because you understand deeply that people are fighting battles you cannot see and that judgment is rarely the answer. But there is a difference between grace and enabling, between patience and self-abandonment, between loving someone from a place of strength and allowing them to drain you from a place of misplaced loyalty. The people who have been taking you for granted are not going to change on their own, not because change is impossible for them, but because as long as you remain available to be taken advantage of, there is no pressure on them to grow. Your continued presence in their life at the cost of your own peace is not helping them. It is actually preventing the very crisis of consequence that might finally motivate their transformation. And more importantly, your season is changing. Where you're going, the relationships that formed in the season of your struggle cannot all come with you. Not because you are becoming someone who abandons people, but because the frequency of your new season is incompatible with the energy of certain connections that belong to the old one. Chosen one, some people were assigned to your wilderness. They were not assigned to your promised land. And the love of God for you is not just the love that blesses you with abundance. It is also the love that protects you from the connections that would dilute that abundance, distract you from your purpose, or drain the very resource, your energy, your peace, your time, that the new season requires you to steward carefully. Let people go with love. Forgive completely. Release any bitterness about what they took from you, but release them and trust that the divine connections assigned to your next chapter, the relationships that are going to pour into you as much as you pour into them, the people who will see your light and celebrate it rather than try to contain it, they are already being prepared and positioned and sent. Now I want to speak directly to the 6 senses you carry. because this is the heart of your true identity, and the light of Christ wants you to understand it fully. What you experience as intuition or empathy or a strong gut feeling is not a personality trait. It is not a quirk of your temperament. It is a spiritual gift of extraordinary power that was placed in you before birth as part of the divine assignment you were sent here to fulfill. 1 Corinthians 12 speaks about the gifts of the Spirit, among them the word of knowledge, the discernment of spirits, the gift of prophecy. These are not ancient gifts that ceased operating in the modern world. They are active, present, alive, and chosen ones who carry the frequency of divine light. And chosen one, you carry them. That knowing you have always had about people. That is discernment of spirits. The ability to perceive the true nature of a soul beneath the surface presentation. The ability to sense whether a spirit is aligned with light or darkness before any outward evidence confirms it. This is not suspicion or paranoia. It is a divine instrument. That ability, you have to speak wisdom into other people's situations with an accuracy that exceeds your natural knowledge or experience. That is the word of knowledge. Information flowing through you from a divine source, because you are a clear enough channel to carry it. That sense you have about the future, the way you can feel when something is about to shift, the way you know things before they happen. Not always specific details, but the weight of what is coming. The sense of a season turning before any natural evidence of the turn is visible. That is prophetic gifting operating in you. These gifts have been present your whole life. But here is what the enemy has been doing with them. He has been using the very sensitivity of these gifts against you. Because when you are highly empathic, you absorb not just divine communication, but also the fear, the negativity, the low-frequency energy of every person and environment around you. And if you do not understand what you carry or how to manage it, that absorption becomes a spiritual drain that keeps your own frequency suppressed. You walk around feeling everyone else's pain as your own, carrying burdens that were never assigned to you, and wondering why you feel so heavy and so tired so much of the time. The reason chosen ones with these gifts often struggle financially, relationally, and physically is not because the gifts are a curse. It is because nobody ever taught them how to operate in the gifts from a position of divine protection rather than spiritual exposure. But that season is ending today. Because the revelation of your true identity is not just information, it is activation. As you receive what the light of Christ is speaking through this message, as the truth of who you are lands in the deepest part of your spirit, the gifts that have been operating unconsciously and without protection begin to come under divine authority. They begin to operate from strength instead of vulnerability, from choice instead of compulsion, from abundance instead of depletion. You are not going to stop feeling deeply. That is your gift, and it is extraordinary. But you're going to start feeling from a place of divine overflow rather than human depletion. And that shift, that fundamental repositioning of how your gifts operate in your daily life, is going to change everything. Chosen one, I need to speak now about March 2026, because this month is not ordinary for you. Heaven has been marking this month for a long time, not just as a calendar point, but as a spiritual threshold, a crossing point, a moment where the before and the after of your life story become clearly distinguishable. Everything that happened before this month, the struggles, the betrayals, the financial roller coaster, the health concerns, the relationships that drained you, the gifts that were misunderstood, the identity that was suppressed, all of it was the before. This month is the after, and the shift that is activated in this month is not gradual. It is not a slow, barely perceptible improvement that you have to strain to notice. It is a sudden, dramatic, undeniable movement of God on your behalf that will be visible not just to you, but to everyone who has been watching your life. Joel 2 verse 25 says, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, not some of the years, not the recent years, all the years, the time that struggle consumed, the seasons that lack stole, the chapters that betrayal wrote over what should have been beautiful. God is about to restore them, not by going backward in time, but by compressing the blessing of all those years into what is about to be released in the season ahead. The speed of what is coming is going to be breathtaking. Doors that have been closed for years are opening in this month. Finances that have been blocked are beginning to flow in this month. Health that has been compromised is beginning to restore in this month. Relationships that have been draining are being released, and divine connections are being sent in this month. Purpose that has been unclear is crystallizing in this month. March 2026 is your month, and you, the one who stayed through every hard season, the one who kept the faith when faith was costly, the one who maintained the purity of your heart through everything that tried to corrupt it, you are the one this month was written for. Now let me tell you what your true identity actually means for your daily life going forward. Because identity revelation without practical application is just information. And what the light of Christ is releasing over you is not just information. It is transformation. In your finances, the billionaire phase you declared in the comments is not a fantasy. It is a frequency. And frequency determines reality in the kingdom of God. When you begin to operate from the consciousness of who you actually are, a divine soul carrying the light of Christ with gifts of extraordinary spiritual intelligence, your relationship with money changes fundamentally. Ideas that carry financial potential begin to flow more freely. Discernment about opportunities sharpens dramatically. Doors that were previously closed begin to open because the anointing on your life is now visible to the people who have the authority to open them. Proverbs 10 verse 22 says the blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil. Without painful toil, not without work. Without the painful, grinding, depleting kind of striving that comes from trying to generate provision through human effort alone. The blessing of the Lord brings wealth, divine wealth, kingdom abundance, the kind that flows as the natural overflow of a life aligned with divine purpose. In your relationships, you're going to begin attracting people who match your frequency, people who see you clearly and celebrate what they see, people who do not require you to dim your light to make them comfortable. People who are themselves carriers of divine gifts and who recognize those gifts in you and feel the natural alignment of two souls operating on the same frequency. Ecclesiastes 4 verse 9 says 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. Divine partnerships, kingdom connections, relationships that multiply your gifts rather than diminish them. They are coming. And your ability to discern them quickly and clearly, to recognize the genuine from the counterfeit without the old pattern of ignoring what you know, because your purity wants to believe the best, that discernment is now fully activated. In your health, as your frequency rises, as you step into the full awareness of who you are and begin operating from divine abundance rather than human depletion, your physical body responds. The nervous system of a highly empathic, chosen one that has been chronically overwhelmed begins to regulate. The inflammation of unprocessed spiritual weight begins to release. The vitality that is your birthright as a carrier of divine light begins to return. 3 John 1 verse 2. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health just as your soul prospers. Soul prosperity producing physical health. The inside changing the outside. The spiritual reality manifesting in the natural body. This is what is beginning for you right now. In your purpose, the thing you were actually sent here to do, the assignment that has been waiting for you to step into the full revelation of your identity before it could be fully activated. It is becoming clear. The fog is lifting. The confusion about direction is dissolving. And what is emerging in its place is a clarity of purpose so specific, so aligned with every gift you carry, every experience you have walked through, every lesson the hard seasons taught you, that when you see it fully, you'll understand immediately why everything had to happen exactly the way it did. Nothing was wasted. Every betrayal was training. Every season of lack was curriculum. Every moment of lonely clarity, of seeing what others could not see and being unable to explain it, was preparation for this, for the assignment that requires exactly the combination of gifts and depth and tested character and divine light that you specifically carry. You're not late. You're not behind. You did not miss your window. You are precisely on time for the assignment that only you were built to fulfill. Chosen one, I want to speak about the silence, because one of the most defining qualities of the soul you are is the silence. You have spent most of your life knowing things you did not say, seeing things you did not point out, understanding things at a depth that you kept to yourself, because you learned early that not everyone could receive what you perceived, that some truths land badly when spoken before the person you're speaking them to is ready, that your gift of seeing clearly sometimes needed to be held quietly out of love for the people around you who are not yet ready to be seen that clearly. And so you became a keeper of wisdom that you rarely shared, a carrier of insight that you mostly used for other people's benefit while quietly wondering if anyone would ever see you with the same clarity you saw them. A soul of extraordinary depth, living in a world that mostly engaged with you on the surface, never quite reaching the places where you were most fully yourself. That silence has been one of the loneliest aspects of your human experience. But chosen one, hear this. The silence ends in this season, not because you're going to start oversharing or become reckless with what you carry, but because the people who are being sent into your life in this next chapter are people who can receive the full depth of who you are, who want to, who are themselves operating at a frequency that can meet you where you actually live, in the deep, in the real, in the spiritually charged conversation that goes beneath the surface to the places that actually matter. The loneliness of being the one who sees everything and says little is a feature of the wilderness season. In the promised land season, you are surrounded by people who see with you, who speak the same language, who honor the depth you carry rather than being threatened by it. Your tribe is coming. Your people are being assembled. And the wisdom you have been carrying in silence is about to find the audience it was always meant to have. Now, chosen one, let us seal everything with a declaration. Put your hand on your heart. Feel it beating. That heartbeat is the sound of a divine soul who has been through everything the enemy could throw at them and is still here, still carrying light, still choosing love, still believing in the God who chose them before they were formed, and has been faithful through every season that tried to prove otherwise. Speak this with everything in you. Let it leave your body and enter the atmosphere. Let it be heard in the spiritual realm as a declaration of war on every lie the enemy has used against your identity, and a declaration of agreement with every truth the light of Christ has been speaking over you since before you were born. I am not who the struggle tried to tell me I was. I am not who the betrayal tried to reduce me to. I am not who the financial pressure tried to define me as. I am not who the confusion tried to contain me as. I am not the version of myself that the hard seasons produced. I am the version of myself that God designed before any of those seasons existed. I am a carrier of divine light. I was born with the frequency of the light of Christ embedded in my soul, and nothing that has happened to me has been able to remove it. It has been suppressed. It has been attacked. It has been misunderstood. But it has never left. And it is rising now with a power and a brightness that the darkness around me cannot contain. I declare that my six senses are gifts, not burdens. That my empathy is a divine instrument, not a weakness. That my ability to see through people and situations is a spiritual gift of discernment, not a curse of knowing too much. These gifts are coming under divine authority in this moment, and they are being calibrated for kingdom purpose. I declare that the frequency block on my finances is broken, that the ceiling on my abundance is dissolved, that the enemy's weapon of lack has been permanently disarmed, and I am stepping into the billionaire phase that the light of Christ has been preparing for this exact season of my life. I declare that my health is being restored, that my body is being returned to its divine design, that the vitality of a soul carrying the light of Christ is manifesting in my physical being right now. I declare that the relationships that were draining me are being released with love and without bitterness, and that divine connections, my true tribe, people who match my frequency and celebrate my light, are being assembled and sent. I declare that my purpose is crystal clear, that the assignment I was sent here to fulfill is fully activated, that every gift, every experience, every season of preparation has been leading to this moment, and I am ready, fully ready, to step into the greatest chapter of my life. I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am not the version of myself that the enemy spent years trying to convince me I was. I am chosen. I am a carrier of divine light. I am a reincarnation of a higher divine frequency. I am exactly who God said I was before I was formed, and nothing that happened between then and now has changed that declaration. I am moving into my billionaire phase now. In the light of Christ, in the name of Jesus, it is done. It is sealed. It is mine. Amen. Chosen one, you made it to the end. You passed every test. You resisted every urge to scroll away. You stayed through every moment of restlessness and distraction and enemy-sent interference. And in doing so, you demonstrated exactly the quality that makes you who you are. The chosen one who finishes what they start, who stays when staying is hard, who chooses the divine appointment over the comfortable distraction. Now go back to the comments if you have not already and type boldly. I am moving into my billionaire phase now. Declare it, claim it, activate it, and then watch what the light of Christ does with that declaration in the days and weeks and months ahead of you. Share this with the chosen one in your life who has always felt different, but never had anyone explain why. The one who sees too much and says too little. The one whose gifts have been mistaken for sensitivity or overthinking or being too much. They need this revelation as much as you did. Subscribe, because the light of Christ is not finished speaking to you through this channel. What is coming is a continuation of the awakening that began in this message. And you're going to want to be here for every piece of it. You have no idea who you are, but now you are beginning to, and the world is about to find out too. God bless you, chosen one. Your biggest shift started the moment you press play.